All right, so what we're going to present to the audience here is a brand new segment for Global News Update. And that's going to be called Learn to Unlearn. Now, this is something that the host of this show, who is Luca, brought to my attention a while back, and I thought it was just a phenomenal concept. Why learn to unlearn? If we're talking about a society that lives in ignorance, a society that lives in programmed ignorance, and what's basically the mission statement of the Liberty Beacon Project? It is the eradication of programmed ignorance. Why do we say that? We say that because the mainstream media constantly tells us one thing, and we do a little digging and we find out that's not always true. This is ignorance being programmed into us. It's not stupidity. Stupidity is having the facts and deciding to do nothing with them. Programmed ignorance is not being given the facts so you don't even, in fact, know what to do. So if you're constantly being programmed with things that are almost the truth, not quite the truth, or not the truth at all, this is programmed ignorance. So how do we get around this? Luca came to me a while back and he said he wanted to do a show called Learn to Unlearn. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Eradicating programmed ignorance, how do you do that? The first thing you do is you learn to unlearn the programming that has been put in front of your eyeballs, into your ears, day after day after day. You unlearn. But in order to unlearn, you have to learn that what you've been told isn't the truth. So you need to learn how to unlearn. And Luca, when you came up with that concept, it was absolutely phenomenal. Now, for anybody who doesn't understand, Luca is going to be doing pretty much a solo show. There'll be times when he will have guests, but most of the time he's going to be doing the Global News Update, which will be a segment where he tells everybody about the global news that has happened since his last show, a synopsis of it, not a whole lot of detail, but keeping you informed on the larger issues so that you can, hey, yeah, I'm going to do a little research on that, and when the show's over, you go look it up and do a little bit more in-depth research. And so Global News Update is going to continue. This is going to be a segment within Global News Update, which is Learn to Unlearn, and that will be the point where Luca will be able to take the subjects that really bother him, the things that really he feels people need to have a more in-depth knowledge of, but maybe they've been programmed to believe the wrong thing. So he's going to teach you how to unlearn.
And we just came, yes, we just came off set from recording API a few moments ago, and I've got to tell you, one of the things that we were discussing is for people to get educated and so they can begin to make changes. And you, by doing this, Luca, and for those of you watching, Luca's taking the initiative to research information, get it out there, providing you with facts and evidence so that you can make informed choices, so that we can all unlearn the things that have been just repeated into our brain from sources that wasn't giving us, or I should say, weren't giving us credible information. So this is the type of initiative that is really important that we all do, and that is begin to do the research, find out what is fact, what is fake, and then place ourselves in a different direction so that we are not as common as this word may be, sheeple.
I love it.
She's getting good. That's awesome. You know, I got to thank both of you, first of all. If it wasn't for both of you and for my co-host, Frank Gregory Ford, that was with us until now, I wouldn't be where I am. It's because it doesn't have anything to do with ego. We have to be clear on that. This is not, it's not a solo trip. It's not, you know, it's not a selfish trip. It's not like, oh, what can you do for me? It's coming from the opposite, because in order to learn to unlearn, we have to be humble and, you know, empty out the glass a little bit so you can put something in it and not have it overflow. You hear it all the time. You hear it all over the place.
And Luca, you're mentioning something that's so important, because a lot of the time we're really content with where we're at, and we don't realize how much happier we will be when we understand things. And yes, it can be a double-edged sword, just like your double-edged sword of learn to unlearn. Well, but it's really important.
Not to make this too long tonight, because this is going to be the second segment of Learn to Unlearn, and then we had Global News Update before. We have a responsibility, I think. Just like the native issues, when you talk about native issues, you have the native world and you have the European world. I like to be right in the middle. It's the same as this. Here you have the horrors that are uncountable and that are unfathomable, and you have people that have no idea of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be that bridge that brings the two together. So since we all evolve at a different rate, at a different speed, some people are all up here and some people are down here. They just haven't learned yet. They don't have the time, whatever. A college student cannot talk math to a primary student, right? It won't work. So this is my job at TLB, I guess. This is my initiative, like you said. Rebecca's good at something. Roger is the encyclopedia. And everybody's got their thing that they're really good at. And
hold on a second here, because you both made a point here, and I want to focus on that for just 1 second, okay? Contrary to what most people believe, I don't ever want to do a radio show. I don't like being on a TV show. I wear the glasses and I wear the hat because, to me, it's like almost getting to stand behind the curtain, okay? I don't want to be the man in front, but as Rebecca said, we need to get information out. We need to help people, as you so aptly put, learn to unlearn what isn't the truth and learn what is the truth. If we don't do that, when people wake up to the world around them, as you said, the last show we just got done recording, Rebecca, when you wake up around you, there are horror stories and you are left in a state of shock. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? No, I don't want to be the person that's telling you this. I really don't. But if I don't do it, if Rebecca doesn't do it, and you don't do it, it isn't going to get done.
Exactly.
Yes, without the information, you have no idea where to go. You don't know what to do, and so you just kind of get herded along, and you get forced, if you will, into making choices that you go, well, I guess this is the lesser of the two evils, because you don't know what other options are out there. And so it's really important to be able to have the resources and the options and the perspectives, because when we're kind of programmed or we're raised a certain way, and there's just this tunnel vision that we have, it's like Plato's allegory, and you don't know what's outside of that cave or coming up from the hole. You don't know that all these demons that are in this area with you, that really, once you get out, it's clear blue sky and there's beautiful plants and flowers all around. Well, it's like that with us in being programmed into believing certain things. So the best thing that we can do as a society is to be educated. And that's the only way to be able to make informed choices. And not only that, but to have a different perspective. I mean, if you think about the different cultural sects that we have within the nation, there's a different viewpoint on each of those things. And so the more perspectives that you have to draw from, the better and healthier type of solution, yes, that you can make that's best for you and for your community and for your family and so on and so forth. So kudos to you, Luca, because I think that this is really important, and going solo is a really difficult thing to do, and I am really proud of you.
I don't think it's going to be solo though too much, because
having guests is fine, Luca, but there are going to be points in time where learn to unlearn for you is going to be something that's coming from your heart, and you're not going to want anybody to bust in on it. You're going to want to do a talk, heart to heart with these people. I can see you bringing guests on Global News Update,
Yeah.
But the Learn to Unlearn segment, I have a feeling going forward, we're going to really see who Luca is on that segment, and I'm very excited to see it. I am.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and through the guests or by myself, it will definitely come out. And the thing is, it's to remember that you're not doing this for you, and we're here to really show people from the depths of the darkness to how beautiful things are and how things were before. But Global News Update is definitely going to explain not the I don't want to show the new events without explaining what happened before. There are some things about the FBI and the CIA that I didn't even know today, and I'm like, okay, that rabbit hole, that's a pretty deep one that I went in all of a sudden today. You find out that the Council on Foreign Relations invented the CIA. I didn't know that one. 1947. Anyway, there's all kinds of things that are stepladdering up to where we are now. And if we don't understand what that stepladder is, it's like hearing something. Oh, okay, from the left or to the right. It doesn't matter.
If you have no confidence in the foundation, then would you ever want to live in that building?
Exactly. So the thing is, on my show, we always said, don't believe us. Do your research. There's nobody that's 100% right. So we're saying, don't believe us. This is what we're offering. This is what we see. This is what we have from credible sources. Do your research. Wake up. Do something.
I agree. And look, for everybody who's watching this, all right, I am very excited to see Luca step out and take total control of Global News Update, because the perspective is going to change. We're going to go from beating, and again, I loved Global News Update, over 100 episodes. I thought it was very necessary. A lot of great information got out, but it was, again, stuck in a mold. It was going in one direction constantly. And I see you bringing an entirely different direction to this, but not a unidirection. I'm talking about a multiple direction.
I got scolded a few days ago by a very, very good friend of mine. She said, you can't expect people just to listen to horrors all the time. She says, it's so horrible to be throwing all these things at you. She said, you should lighten up a little bit. And I sat down and I thought about that for a few days. Lighten up. Meaning,
there's a time and a place for everything, including a show that absolutely comes upside your head like a bitch slap. There is a time and a place for it, but every single week,
yeah,
no. And Rebecca will be the first. Actually, she's told me on more than one occasion that we do have to lighten up. But even Rebecca agrees that every once in a while, the truth can be hard. It really can. So it's got to be done.
It really does. Education, it can be very, very difficult to process when it is something that is horrific or a predictor of horrification of things. But Luca, you have something really special, which is important to remember with all of your shows and everyone that you come in contact with. You've got to leave them with some hope and not let people feel like there is despair and chaos all over the place. All they have to do is turn on just irregular television for that, because you got lots of fake news out there drumming up ugly, ugly stuff.
Yes.
How many seconds is one of a segment of a newscast, right? And there, you do have some media that will provide community inspirational segments and stuff like that, and that's great. And unfortunately, though, a lot of people are shying away now from media because they don't want to be down in the dumps all the time. And so by taking that sort of information that you were given from your friend, it says, lighten up. She's one of those viewers, one of your audience members that's saying, I love your message. I need hope. And there's many viewers out there like this, and that's what's super important, and offering solutions and giving the education that is needed to the public so that they have that. Because one of the things with despair is there are no resources. There is no hope, and I have nowhere to turn. And this is what's going to make your show a success.
Well, I'm going to take that one step further, and then we're going to wrap this up, because this was basically to introduce Learn to Unlearn, and I think we've done a good job of that. Rebecca, everything you just said is not only extremely apropos, but it's spot on. Because anybody who knows Luca knows that he's got a big heart.
Mm-hmm.
Caring individual. That he's the type of person who always wants to leave somebody with a smile on their face, or at least a warm, fuzzy feeling. This is who Luca is. Okay? I am a much, much more aggressive individual. I'm not telling you Luca can't get the message out. We all know he can. We've seen him do it. But Luca has a very big heart, and that's going to come through.
This is the problem. This is exactly what the problem is, because you're talking about big heart matriarchal, okay? You're talking polar opposite that we're living today. Patriarchal, which is, you know, war, peace, hate, love. You know, they're complete opposites. So again, my grandmother always used to say, not A, not B, right in the middle. How can we weave the two together? You know, and it's going to be fun, and I'm hoping to get people to give comments.
Okay. So Luca, then what I'm hearing you say is there really is underwater basket weaving courses?
Yeah. They're starting next week.
Sign me
I
up.
love it.
Okay.
I love it. I do.
Underwater basket weaving. I got to remember that one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've accomplished our goal. I think that, Luca, we're all looking forward to seeing exactly what you're going to do with the new Global News Update, especially with the segment that will be called Learn to Unlearn. And I think you probably have two of your biggest fans, if this is anywhere near what we think you're going to do with it, sitting right here.
It's going to be a very serious call to return to the human beings that we are.
I love it. Return to the human beings. Boy, that sounds like
A B movie.
It does sound like a movie, doesn't it? I'm thinking Land of the Lost, Planet of the Apes, you know.
I'm stealing from Little Big Man.
Return of the human beings.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
No, it was Chief Dan George that said, we don't see color, we see heart. We are human. We are the human beings, he said.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And thank you for having Rebecca and I on board.
Yes. Thank you so much, Luca. And I'm wishing your show much, much, much success, because you absolutely deserve it, and so does your audience.
And we can't thank the audience enough. So let's rock.
We'll try.